Well, hello, boys and girls. It's when I feel like 8 o'clock, and I started feeling it when I got the Kadri suspension. Um, I'm Pearl of Wisdom, and you're listening to my NHL Pearls of Wisdom. This is the Kadri suspension is tough for me, and for people like obviously I'm not a young guy. I'm an older dude, and I come from a different game than it is today, and it's hard for me to separate it. Kelly Kissio said something very true, I think. With the suspensions that Kadri has had, if Toronto had more players with the grit and determination of Kadri, I think he would probably not be getting these suspensions as much as he has been. Kadri has something in him where he feels he needs to defend his players. It's just part of who he is. And he's not the biggest guy in the world, and there's not too many, if any, guys on Toronto, especially after Roman Polak left, that are willing to do what he does. And I think he puts it on his own shoulders. And when he does it, he gets so frustrated that something isn't being taken care of that when he does take care, by the time he does take care of it, he's way above where he needs to be, as far as or should be, as far as his anger is concerned, and I think there might even be a little fear that he's got nobody backing him up. So he, being a smaller guy, he has a tendency to stretch the rules a little bit, maybe some would say a lot, to retaliate in these situations. Um, for the rest of the first round, odd penalty or odd suspension, I would say. But to me, it seems like what they were doing is just trying to deflect any more of this for this round. When they go in, if they happen to beat Boston, which I doubt they will now that Kadri's not there, um, it's a new playing field. It's a new group of people. It's a new group of players that you're playing against, and there isn't that retaliation factor on both sides. So that seems to be what the reasoning for was it. What reason for it was. Um, that being said, let's look at it from a Kadri perspective. In that situation, when you got a guy that you want to get back at, and at this point, you're obviously not thinking about penalties or anything like that. You got to drop that stick and just start throwing him, man. Make it so he's looking at you and start throwing. At the very least, like you don't want to sucker punch, but you got to be able to. You got to drop the gloves and start hitting them. You're not going to get in that much trouble for that. But that being said, like he's been brought to a point of bubbling that all of a sudden his head turns off. And part of that is because they have, I think a lot of it has to do with is that Toronto doesn't have the players that can back them up or take that role if it's necessary to do. A lot of people were calling for them to go after Furlan or Simmons or somebody like that, and I agree. I follow analytics, but I also know that that is something that, and forget about the whole thing with Kadri. Even if Kadri doesn't do that and they play, if you've been watching that Boston Toronto series, Toronto's not winning that series. Boston has got them just out muscled. And I actually picked Toronto in 7 in that series simply because I thought Anderson and I thought they'd get outplayed and win the series. That's what I thought would happen because of Anderson. I just think that Anderson is that good. However, their defense with Hainsey not in the being the number 2, which he shouldn't be. I should have thought that Anderson's great, but not that great. It's pretty much over. I think the Toronto series is over. But in the off season, you got to think about a lot of the decisions you made, letting Martin go, and bringing guys back in that can play that kind of a role and can do it in a top 3 role. It's it's something they're absolutely going to need to do next year. Get Kadri some backup. I kind of feel for the guy. I know there's a lot of people that are going to watch this and say, he deserves it, especially Toronto haters. He should have got more and all that kind of stuff like that. And maybe he should have. It's not for me to say. I watched it over and over again. He definitely went to give him a shot. I don't think he meant to hit him as hard as he did or anything like that. Like, didn't mean to take the guy out. But I think there's an element of fear and an element of expectation in who he is to stick up. The element of fear is he's not a big guy, you know. And who did he do that to? I think he did it to DeBrusque. DeBrusque is bigger than him. DeBrusque is a guy that'll get under your skin. He'll annoy the shit out of you, and he knows he's gonna have a hard time dropping him with DeBrusque. But that's what he really had to do. He would have been better to sucker punch him a little bit in the head and get him down and just start pounding on him. Yeah, you're gonna take 5 in a game, instigator, but at least you're not out for the series. I had a guy on my Facebook page, you can go look at it at Pearl of Wisdom, NHL Pearls of Wisdom, and join up on there. But he said, do you think that they need to get rid of him now because of that? No, they just need to add more people with size that has that type of mentality on their team. Well, that's my full 42%, boys and girls. That's all I have to give. Why don't you hit the subscribe button there, and I might get enough subscribers and enough views that I could actually buy a laptop so I don't have to use my phone and look like an idiot. Yeah. You don't want me to looking like I don't know if there's any way I cannot look like an idiot, but it certainly might help. Have a great day. Lots of love to you.